Let's learn about endgames where one side has a queen and the other side has a passed pawn. My pawn is close to promoting. If your queen can stop my pawn, then you will win. Move your queen to the square b1 to blockade it. Blockading with the queen and attacking the pawn with the king is the simplest way to win. Sometimes this isn't possible, like in the next example. In this example, we'll learn why a far-advanced rook's pawn protected by a king is usually a draw. Start by promoting your pawn. If I can promote my pawn, then the position will be drawn, so I will race to promote my pawn too. Blockading my pawn isn't possible here. Checking my king with your queen is the only way to prevent me from promoting. That's check. My king will hide in front of my rook's pawn in the corner of the board, creating a stalemate trap. You cannot make progress by checking my king with your queen, and if you move your king, it's stalemate, so the position is drawn. Next, we'll see how a knight's pawn is different. With a knight's pawn, my king does not have a stalemate refuge in the corner. Check my king by moving your queen to the square a4 and force me to move it back in front of my pawn. That's check, and my only legal move is to block my own pawn. Approach my pawn with your king by moving it to the square c4. Each time my king steps in front of my pawn, you can move your king closer to my pawn. Move your queen to the square a3, pinning my pawn to my king. Unable to move my pawn, I have to move my king. Move your queen to the square c3, checking my king and forcing him back in front of the pawn. If I move away from the pawn, you can simply capture it. With my king in front of my pawn, you can advance your king to the square b3. My king has no choice but to move into the corner. Do you see the checkmate here? Checkmate. This technique works against the knight's pawn and the center pawns too. Let's look at the bishop's pawn next. Some endgames require specialized knowledge. Start by promoting your pawn to learn why this one is drawn. This position looks similar to the last one, but the same technique won't work this time. Let's see why. There are many moves you could play here, but none would change the outcome. For instance, move your queen to the square f2 to pin my pawn and prevent it from promoting. Unable to move my pawn, I have to move my king, but the square I chose to move it to may surprise you. Go ahead and capture my pawn with your queen to see what makes the bishop's pawn special. Stalemate. A far-advanced bishop's pawn is often drawn because of this stalemate resource. Let's look at a central pawn next. Just as we saw with the knight's pawn, there is no stalemate refuge with a center pawn. Let's review the winning process. Move your queen to the square e3, checking my king. I have no choice but to move my king in front of my own pawn. The process is long, but easy to remember. When my king steps in front of my pawn, advance your king. Move your king to the square c7. I will move my king out of the way. I still cannot advance my pawn, since it is now in a pin. Move your king one square closer by moving it to the square c6. With only a pawn, I'm helpless against an opponent who knows this winning process. Step your king one square closer by moving it to the square d5. I will move my king out of the way of my pawn and threaten to promote. Move your queen to the square e2, preventing my pawn from advancing by pinning it to my king. I will step my king back to defend my pawn and prepare to promote it on the next turn. Move your queen to the square c4, checking my king and preventing me from promoting. Again, I will step in front of my own pawn. What move do you think you should play here? You're getting good at this. Well, I have only one legal move to make. Look for a queen move that prevents my pawn from promoting. That is a clever check, but there is a faster route to victory starting with a pin. Can you spot it? Look for a queen move that prevents my pawn from promoting. Converting a winning endgame can be a long process. With my king in front of my pawn, yours is able to advance again. Move your king to the square e3 and attack my pawn. I have only one move, but already my fate is sealed. From here it is checkmate in only 2 moves. Can you spot the first move? I can run away. But I can't hide from checkmate. Do you see the checkmate in this position? Nice work. Next, let's get some practice with the ideas that we have learned. In this practice problem, I have a bishop's pawn, but it is 3 moves away from promotion. Your move. I will push my pawn forward too, inching closer to the promotion square. A bishop's pawn can be stopped if it is not too far advanced. Do you see the fastest way to stop my pawn? Excellent. Your queen is ready to occupy a square in front of the pawn on the next turn to prevent its advance. Your move. What's the easiest way to prevent my pawn from promoting? Nice work. With the pawn blockaded, your king has all the time it needs to march across the board and help finish the game. With your queen in front of the pawn, it is easy to drive my king away with yours and then win the pawn. What's the fastest way to do so here? Nice move. My king must abandon the defense of my pawn. What's the best move for you here? This would be stalemate, a drawn game. Let's go back and this time capture my pawn instead. What's the best move for you here? There are many good moves for you here, but simply taking the pawn is best. What's the best move for you here? That's check. What will you play next if I hide in the corner? Be careful here. Do you see the fastest route to mate? This is a stalemate, a drawn game. Try again and this time move your queen instead. Be careful here. Do you see the fastest route to mate? Fine move, keeping my king trapped but not stalemating him in the corner. Do you see the checkmate in 2 moves? Oh dear, I'm running out of squares. Your move. Do you see the checkmate? Very well played. This next one is a bit trickier. In this challenge, you have a rook's pawn that is only one move from promotion. However, your king is in check. Where should you move? This move allows me to capture your pawn and then checkmate your king a few moves later. Where else could you move? In this challenge, you have a rook's pawn that is only one move from promotion. However, your king is in check. Where should you move? Hiding in front of your pawn. What if I were to approach with my king? A stalemate. Nice work spotting this defensive resource. You're going to like this next puzzle. It's a fun one. In this challenge, I have a center pawn that is close to promotion, but you have a queen. Can you find the fastest route to victory? Using a pin to stop my pawn from promoting. Nice technique. How should you continue? This is a good move, but moving the king to the square c3 will allow you to deliver checkmate a bit faster. Play that move instead and you'll see. How should you continue? My king has only one option. With your king on the square c3, it's now a checkmate in 2. Can you spot it? That's check, and again my king has only one legal move. Do you see the checkmate in 1? Very well played. In this next challenge, I will be the one trying to win and it will be your task to defend. In this position, your options are limited. Consider them carefully. This move doesn't lose the game immediately, but it allows me to approach with my king and make a little progress. There is a simpler way to hold the draw that we learned in this lesson. In this position, your options are limited. Consider them carefully. Giving me your pawn. Nice work finding this stalemate idea. Very clever. I have one last challenge for you, where we'll see an exception to this idea. In the final challenge, you will promote first, but I have a bishop's pawn and a sneaky stalemate idea in mind. Can you beat me? We begin with a pawn race, that I am going to lose, but I have a little trick up my sleeve. Your move. You have a queen, but I have a plan. Take a moment and consider the position. There is only one move here that wins for you. What is it? A very subtle move, cutting off my king and attacking a key square in front of my pawn. Perhaps I can still hold the draw here. Very well played, Marco. You handled this endgame with an expert's understanding. Fantastic work completing this lesson. The journey to being a chess master is a long one, but completing this lesson brings you one step closer.